What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own team selection for the upcoming Game Week 27. So the midweek FA Cup games have concluded. Hopefully you guys have spent the last few hours kind of planning your chip strategy and your transfer plans, as obviously this FA Cup's told us who's going to blank in Game Week 29. Now don't worry, tomorrow I'm hopefully going to break down a video for you guys detailing what that actually means, what chips to use in blank Game Week 29, whether you guys should free it or not. But in this video, I'm going to focus on my team selection as I've actually already made a transfer. So yes, the team might actually be locked in already, and that's why I want to make this team selection video so that you guys can maybe make that move. But unfortunately, because of injuries today, I might actually be forced into a -4 or -8 hit. So for the second week in a row, we might be taking a hit, which might be the kind of nature of the future game weeks. So fingers crossed Game Week 27 is pretty good. Now to start off the video, I'll be going through a quick recap of Game Week 26. How did that blank game week go? Are we on a red arrow or a green arrow? Before jumping into all the goodness for Game Week 27. So if that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So let's quickly run through how blank Game Week 26 went. Well, unfortunately, as you guys can see top right hand side, we got a red arrow to about the 60k mark. So yes, we've actually got about a 50% red arrow here from 40k to 60k, and that's largely because I took a -8 hit. So I did score 54 points, but obviously with the -8, that's going to take us to 46, which had a game week rank of 3.3 million. So the overall points are 1,624, and as I said, 60k, not the best rank in the world, but definitely not the worst. Now in terms of the upcoming transfer plan, I've got one free transfer and 4.6 left in the bank. So in the comments down below, guess which move I actually made last night. So I'm going to start off on our bench, and this week nothing much to talk about. Dubravka was ill, so we had a full stack of benched options. All of them blanked: Richarlison, Porro, and Van Dijk. So at least Dubravka seems like he has recovered from that illness as he played in the FA Cup game, as we might actually need him for the future game weeks. So because Dubravka's on our bench, Areola was between the sticks. He was the only player in my transfer plan that I still had to play, and I honestly needed a massive haul to get a green arrow. That wasn't the case. At least his colleague Jared Bowen got a hattie if you guys did own him, but Areola only settled for 2 points. Now I didn't have any expectations, but I was still disappointed, I guess. But with the way the rest of my defense looked, he kind of fit in perfectly. So Saliba and Gabriel lost their clean sheet in kind of the last few minutes of their fixture. They were winning by so many goals, I was expecting the clean sheet, as they only considered an XG of 0.16 the whole game. What obviously ends up happening, they concede from that 0.16 XG. Just another game week where the double up disappoints. Then also quite disappointing was going to be Pau Torres, but at least he lost their clean sheet when he was subbed. As if he got injured and was subbed at halftime, then Aston Villa kept the clean sheet, I would have been pretty mad. That would have been the second time in a row against Sheffield United that the Aston Villa defender I own was subbed before their clean sheet. Flashback to Konza a few game weeks ago. So overall, Game Week 27, definitely the kind of defensive game week of the season. Pretty actually disappointing. Now midfield department also had its disappointments. Garnacho with only 2 points, although he is quite cheap, I was expecting a little bit from him. But overall, United disappointed against that Fulham side. So when I play him, he gets 0 points, but when I bench him, he gets a brace. But can't really see myself playing him too much in the future. At least Saka kept up this good form that he's showing with a 10-point appearance, just on a massive trend at the moment. Then our transfer in this week was De Bruyne out for Hwang Hee-chan after I saw De Bruyne come on the field and get a yellow card for 0 points. I was just wishing Hwang Hee-chan got us any attacking return. What ends up happening though, gets injured in the warm-up to the fixture, manages to recover, plays the full game, but does absolutely nothing but get the clean sheet point. It's not the best kind of thing in the world when your attacker can only rely on a clean sheet point, but overall Wolves only won that fixture 1-0. I mentioned this in the transfer plan, but he was kind of a 1-week punt. Do I regret this? Obviously, every other option, Jared Bowen, Leon Bailey, and Douglas Luiz all ended up returning, but I was always going to take a punt on that Sheffield United at home game. Now unfortunately, he's got injured in the FA Cup, so therefore might be a transfer out. Just stay tuned to find out. In the last option, Phil Foden scored the only goal in that victory for Man City. He got a few bonus points as well to take him to 11, and just great form at the moment as well. Now midweek, Man City absolutely destroyed Luton. I don't think Phil Foden got any attacking returns though, but I still feel like he's a great option in the Prem. So kind of 2 disappointments and 2 double-digit returns. Unfortunately though, they were for the more highly owned options. Now final department, the forwards, the first option Dom Solanke and Erling Haaland actually played against each other. Dom Solanke could have scored, actually had the ball cleared off the line, but yet to settle for a blank, which I don't really mind. With Erling Haaland, he scored an assist, which I was okay with, but then he goes and scores I think 5 goals in the FA Cup, which is simply outstanding. Where were those goals, Erling, when we triple captained you last game week? I guess it is how it is in FPL sometimes, an absolute troll, especially with De Bruyne getting 4 assists. Finally, another transfer in from -4 as well, or you can consider this the free transfer, was Ollie Watkins in for Darwin Núñez, and he managed to net 9 points. I think those Ollie Watkins points offset our hits quite nicely, as otherwise this could have been an absolute disaster of a game week. Might be kind of rich considering the fact that I got a 50% red arrow, but the transfers actually helped me quite a bit. But just because I did badly doesn't mean that you guys did badly. I've seen some massive scores, some massive differentials. Did you guys get a red arrow or a green arrow, and where are you guys sitting in the overall ranks? Now before we go on to the team selection, I want to show you guys the confirmed transfer plan. As mentioned, I've actually already made a transfer. I did this last night, and that was because there might have been some price changes. So I might have been a little bit impatient last night, but because I had the exact funds for this move, I pulled the trigger. As you guys would have heard, unfortunately Hwang Hee-chan managed to get injured. Not only that, but Wolves also managed to beat Brighton and therefore they blank in game week 29. And because the Wolves manager said that he would be surprised if Hwang Hee-chan played this weekend against Newcastle, I decided to make the move. Now the player I brought in was going to be a South Korean exchange. I went for Heung-min Son from Spurs, and as I mentioned, I just could afford this transfer. Now the first thing I want to put out, because you guys might be stressing, if you guys don't have enough funds to do this move, think that you guys can also go for a Jared Bowen. He's a cheap alternative with also great fixtures, and more importantly, plays in game week 29. So this transfer was confirmed last night, but Son didn't rise in price, however he might tonight. Now the reason I also did this transfer was it didn't really change my transfer plan. Whether I choose to free it in game week 29 versus not free it in game week 29, I think my team looks relatively okay for game week 27 pre all the injuries. So this transfer I would have made anyways, I guess, if I was choosing to use the free it. So my chip strategy stayed exactly the same. Now I mentioned this in the introduction, but with all the injuries, unfortunately, I might have to take a -4 or -8 hit, but I'll talk about that as I go through my team selection. There is a point though, almost like a tipping point. If a lot of options are actually injured, if these injuries are confirmed, I might be tempted to use the wildcard this week or at least next week. Let's just see what the press conferences hold for us tomorrow, as a lot of the teams are having them tomorrow, and then we can discuss the chip strategy a bit more after those. But please, in terms of you guys' own transfer plans, you guys have to decide what you want to do with that free it, as that's really going to dictate which players you guys bring in and which players you avoid. I'd say as long as the player has a fixture in blank game week 29, you guys can do that move this week. I think game week 27 and the rest of the chip strategy are quite disconnected. So I don't think the moves this week will affect you that much, as long as those players, as I said, have a fixture in game week 29. But hopefully I'll do a video tomorrow on the doubles and the blanks, otherwise this might come early next week, as next week really depends on when we use the chips. But as always, if you guys have any dilemmas, comment them down below. I'll try and reach out to you guys as quick as possible, or my Discord server, second link in the description. You guys can also ask the questions in the deadline stream. I'll be doing it 1 hour before the deadline. This might be a massive game week for your kind of strategy. But now let's go on to the actual team selection. As you guys can see, I've got 0 transfers at the moment and 0.0 in the bank. I had the exact funds for that Son in move. So let's go over the bench and the starting 11 to see if I'm forced to make a -4 or a -8. The injuries this week have already plagued my team. As you guys can see, first on our bench there, Areola with that Everton away game. I'd slightly prefer Dubravka, who has Wolves at home. So now that Hwang Hee-chan is out of our team, I'd have to play the odds. I don't own any Wolves attackers, and therefore I do hope they're blank, or at least Newcastle get the clean sheet. Now between these two options, it's kind of very close. I do really back Everton at home though, and that's why I do prefer the Newcastle keeper, even though they can't keep a clean sheet. Now the rest of our bench might actually be quite important with all these injuries. Unfortunately, it's not that great though. I've got Garnacho against Man City. That's basically a guaranteed blank, unless you have some absolute madness and an upset. We then have Pedro Porro, who apparently isn't training at the moment. If he is back training though, Crystal Palace at home is a great fixture, so definitely play him if he is going to feature. Otherwise, Pau Torres might also be fit. He has Luton away. The reports are that the injury wasn't that bad, but I've only seen him back in training. So our bench is basically 2 players that are out injured at the moment, and Garnacho against Man City. It's actually not looking too good. It's already spoken about Dubravka, but as mentioned, no Wolves attacker, so I'm really favouring that Newcastle clean sheet, and surely they have to turn around 1 point or another. But between these two options, really a 50-50, just go with your gut. Now this week I've got some hope for some clean sheets from our defensive department. It's going to be an all centre back affair, starting off with Virgil van Dijk. He played the first half in that Southampton game. So as far as I know, it wasn't injury related, the substitution at half time. It was simply giving him a rest, and therefore should be fine for the weekend against Nottingham Forest. Now, not the best kind of clean sheet odds here, but I guess Virgil also offers that attacking threat, as we have seen in the previous Premier League games. Now, if Pedro Porro is back from injury, it will be quite a close debate between Virgil and himself, but with the way things are going, everyone's going to be injured anyways. Then surely this is the week that the double up in the Arsenal defense, Saliba and Gabriel, keep a clean sheet. It is Sheffield United after all. So fingers crossed the bad juju of this fixture doesn't come back to bite us. Please, no more injuries. I can't really bear any more. But it doesn't really get better of a fixture than this one, so let's see what Arsenal can do. Then our midfield department, we've welcomed in the South Korean Heung-min Son into the squad, and he's joined by his colleague Richarlison. Now, will he be joined by his colleague in the actual fixture? I don't exactly know. Massive rumours today and proof of Richarlison not training, and apparently hasn't really trained since that loss to Wolves about 2 weeks ago. So big doubts over Richarlison, but fingers crossed maybe Ange tomorrow says something in his press conference. He usually is quite transparent. But let's just assume that Richarlison and Son are both fit. This is a fine fixture on the cards, Crystal Palace at home. Let's hope for no new manager bounce. Now if Richarlison is out injured, I therefore have to play Garnacho, but if Porro or Powell maybe come back from injury, that might be better assets. I just really do hope that Richarlison is going to be fit because I've held him for a few weeks now, and obviously I need him for blank game week 29. At least Saka should be fine for Sheffield United away. Unfortunately, I don't have the Campsey armband on him. I'm backing another option. But if you guys do want to go there, I can understand honestly. He's got great form at the moment. Sheffield United are terrible. Arsenal have an attacking uptrend. What's not to like? Might even be the best Campsey option, to be honest. Is quite highly owned though, so let's hope that effective ownership doesn't cross the 100% mark, as then you'll hope he blanks because you're not captaining him. Another player with quite high ownership is going to be Phil Foden. He has United at home. I think this last week has just shown us this is a fixture to target. United aren't great, Man City are good. This could be an absolute haul. It seems like Pep's just playing Foden more, and as you guys would have seen, he's getting more attacking returns. A nailed Foden is an absolute FPL gem. So overall, the midfield four, if everyone's fit, actually looks pretty decent. Let's just hope everyone plays. Now kind of talking about injuries, the first option, Dom Solanke, wasn't in the squad for the FA Cup game. We thought it was rest initially, but apparently he's had an MRI on his knee, and might be touch and go for the weekend. Now the Bournemouth manager was quite optimistic. He said hopefully maybe Solanke is back for the weekend, but going for an MRI scan might sound more serious. Now if he is going to be back for this fixture, Burnley away is a great game on the cards, and Dom Solanke has had some pretty consistent form this season. So I honestly hope that he is back because as you guys know, got that double game week 28 on the horizon. Definitely a standout Campsey option. Ollie Watkins, our new transfer, also has a good fixture, Luton away. We saw what kind of Erling Haaland did in the FA Cup. I think Ollie Watkins could do the same, and therefore are we underestimating him as a Campsey option? Aston Villa also seem to find their mojo a little bit more in terms of the attacking department, and therefore I'm just happy to own him for this game week. Then finally the last option, our captain Erling Haaland, coming off almost scoring a double hattie, and that's really struck some fear into FPL, and therefore I think it'd be the most captained option. So I think it might have been quite close between Saka and him, but after, as I said, 5 goals in the FA Cup, this might be more of a fear over brain decision. I think any tougher fixture, but you can't really say that United at home is a bad fixture, and therefore I put the Campsey armband on him. In the comments down below, is there anyone that's actually going for the Saka captain or anyone differential, maybe an Ollie Watkins over an Erling Haaland? Very interested to see what you guys are thinking. So in summary, in terms of my starting 11, the team looks absolutely stacked if everyone was fit, but unfortunately Richarlison is a major doubt, as well as Dom Solanke, and if Pedro Porro and Powell don't recover, I only have one fit option on my bench. So therefore, -4 hit might be on the cards. If Solanke is out for a long amount of time, going to miss double game week 28, I might take him out, and the same I guess with Richarlison. But the problem is, with 0.0 in the bank, it does kind of make our options a bit scarce, so we can only go for a player that's the same price or a downgrade. So let's see what the press conferences hold for us tomorrow. Let's hope that it's positive news, but I'm always more of a pessimist in terms of FPL. We might have to rely on the GOAT Garnacho against Man City, probably the toughest game in the Prem. Can't really see many points coming from him. But at the current moment, I'm just going to roll with what we have, take maybe a -4 if we have to, and the current plan is not to free it in game week 29. I will talk about that, as I mentioned, a bit more tomorrow, hopefully in a video, where I do discuss the double and the blank game weeks. The final team selection will be covered in the deadline stream coming up 1 hour before the deadline. Hopefully I'll see you guys there on Saturday. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Some content still to come, hopefully, for Game Week 27 and other major FPL decisions. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.